Think. Alright, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, y'all. It is Wednesday, August the 5th, 2020. Welcome. We are live with the J Money Talks podcast. How's it going, everybody? It's your host, Jason Johnson here, aka J Money. How y'all doing? It's a nice, beautiful day in Louisville, Kentucky. It feels great. I'm excited. So before we begin the podcast, I will say, give my prayers to the people who are living in Beirut, Lebanon. If yesterday, Beirut, the port of Beirut, had this massive explosion. A lot of people looked at the explosion. It looked like a nuke went off. It was because that was a explosion. It happened nearby the port of Lebanon, which is pretty much the main port of the country of Lebanon, and is one of the most busiest ports in the Eastern Mediterranean region, which is going to be a huge factor in the country's economy and a lot of other things. My thoughts and prayers go out to the country of Lebanon and the city of Beirut, especially the people who are that sadly are no longer with us now, and people who are injured. Hopefully you guys have a speedy recovery and everything. Yeah, but yes, that's my father prayers go out to all of y'all. Let's continue on with the podcast now. We're gonna go ahead and talk about, I think the first thing we can talk about is, well, if you're fighting, if anyone doesn't know, I don't talk a lot about video games, but you don't know me, I'm actually a huge fan of fighting games, and just earlier today, like about an hour ago, well, not an hour ago, but 20 minutes ago, Street Fighter Capcom announced the new update, the final season for Street Fighter V, the fifth and final season. They announced, pretty much came out. They actually announced 4 new characters. The first one was an obvious one. That is Dan, who is the penultimate joke character of the show, the Joke Shoto. Pretty much a fun character. He has a cult following amongst people. Originated in the Street Fighter Alpha series. He was last in Street Fighter 4. He's brought in. He's back. They shown his first footage, what would have been a trailer, develop in progress. They haven't shown anything involving they haven't shown his super yet. I don't know if they have the super ready yet, but it looks good. The footage looked great. His character looks not bad. His Gadoken is still weak as what is in the game, and the Koyugen is still decent. Statsu was always his best move, and his looks pretty good. And I think they're making his taunts work well and incorporate his taunts. It's interesting to see how the story will go. I have not played Street Fighter V at all, because I don't have a PS4 or PC, and initially, when it came out, the game did not look very good. But now, as the game has progressed over years, it started getting better and better. Season 3 kind of helped. Season 2 was the big thing that kind of turned a lot of people off. Started, Akuma looked like Mufasa from Lion King, and Ken had banana hair, and a bunch of stuff. The online was trash, and a lot of things. But now, the last couple seasons, the season 3 and season 4, they end up making some things right. They, somehow, one thing that was bad was a Street Fighter fan, made a mod that made the online good, but it kind of ruined some part of the game or crashed the game in some way, and instead of Capcom, no, that mod looks pretty good. Let's see if we can use that mod and integrate it into our online system, and maybe make the online better. Nope, they decided to remove the mod itself and completely took out the mod entirely, and yeah, that was a bad thing. They hopefully, I think they're going to be they mentioned something about, I think eventually they're going to make something involving making the netcode better probably in the future, but because they actually recently had this, if anyone doesn't know, on Friday, the big Japanese fighting game developers had this big roundtable discussion about on like netcode, some cases on netcode, crossplay, and like a few other things, pretty much, and a few other things. And it's something that hopefully these are ongoing discussions, because this is something a lot of fighting game fans, especially in America, is where most of these get most people play the games the most, and as well as Japan and Korea. But it's a big thing that we want to hear. Is like, especially one of the things is like how we not only get new players but also keep it competitive as it is, and like a bunch of things. And I think it's interesting to see how it goes. I think it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, it was a pretty good discussion. I was something I watched. I listened in on Friday, or not really listened in, but at least kind of kept my eyes and ears on, because I was interested in knowing on how they were going to handle these discussions, because it was a big thing. So yeah, Street Fighter 5. So Street Fighter 5 is getting a new update. One of the first characters was Dan. The next character they announced was going to be Rose, which was originated in the Alpha series and was in Ultra Street Fighter 4. It looked like she is in the universe already, because she has a student of hers named Manat, who came out in, I think, the late part of season 2, which was in the late part of season 2. She has like the soul power and stuff, and is in the game. Well, not really in the game, but like in cutscenes and part of a story, and like the character story, and I think in the arcade ending, one of Manat's arcade endings, actually. So there's a possibility that Rose is going to be in the game. Right now, she's in the design phase, having worked on how they do make the character work and stuff. So it's like, this is like very early, but they can just make the announcement like, we're gonna have Dan, or have Rose. The next character they announced was Oro, who is in the Street Fighter free games, who was a well-known character in Street Fighter free games. He's this old like hermit guy, who's a badass like martial artist, and is pretty much very powerful. And he also somehow has a role with Shadaloo. Like Shadaloo kind of like is kind of questioning like this Oro guy, his power and stuff, and he's a interesting guy. Actually, I think when they showed like a little like concept art, he had a little turtle with him. Now I'm thinking one of the things I'm thinking of, one of his mechanics could be like the turtle knows martial arts just as much, so you pretty much fight the little ninja turtle. That would be hilarious. And I'm thinking that maybe they'll make it, or maybe there's a super where the turtle actually plays a role. We don't know. I'm interested in see how they putting them in there. But he won't be available until like later, probably next year, 2021. And who knows? Maybe they'll find a way of integrating. Like, I think Street Fighter 4 will be playable on the PS5 when it comes out. So that means I think they'll probably work something out there. And then the fourth character they announced was a character of a cult classic fighting game called Rival Schools, which is named Akira, which is one of the characters in Rival Schools, which is this cold, it's a game in the mid-90s that came out in the mid-90s. It was this popular, it's this like 2.5D fighting game. It focused on mostly like high school kids in Japan, all like having fights and stuff. I don't know the storyline. I gotta look into it, but it has to do with like tournaments and stuff. Like each school, 5 schools from 5 districts in the city, and I think Tokyo, and I guess who's the toughest of them all in each fight. Students fight, teachers fight. Looks pretty good. It's an interesting fighting game. It was a game that at least has a cult following. It didn't sell much, but the people they still do liked it a lot, grew up with it, and pretty much became fans of it. This is the first time they probably had something rival schools related in a while. Some things they didn't do much of it. The last time a character in a rival schools game was in anything Capcom related was the main character Batsu in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, which is like this tag team fighter, which is actually on the Wii. I think it was on the Wii and a couple other platforms. I think Xbox 360 and maybe PS3, but mostly Wii on the Wii. So, but yeah, it's there's a lot of things in this, so it's interesting to see how they incorporate her into this game. Yes, this is a girl fighter, and it's gonna be interesting to see these games play out, and I'm ready to stay and see the new season. They didn't announce a 5th character, so I'm thinking this 5th character has got to be someone big, because it could be big, or it could be maybe a Darkstalkers character, possibly, because before this announcement, Capcom trademarked the Darkstalkers trademark, and which means it could be a Darkstalkers character, or there's a possibility of a new Darkstalkers game coming out in the future, which I'm hoping that is a possibility, because Darkstalkers is a known like cult series for Capcom, and it has like these monsters, like a Frankenstein character, vampires, and like a lot of like monsters and stuff. It's like a Halloween like fighter. It's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting to see. It was made right around the time after Street Fighter 2 pre-Street Fighter Alpha days. So it was like 93 to 94, and yeah, and it's pretty good. Like animations, and like some of the characters are pretty known, and they have there's some games Street Fighter has. Some didn't come out in Japan, mostly just came out in Japan. Some came out stateside, not much, but some made stateside. But yeah, it's a very big thing. A lot of people are excited for this, and yeah, it's pretty interesting to see this. There's more stuff coming. I'm a fighting man. I'm interested in trying now Street Fighter 5, and I'll probably, when I first get a computer or have a roommate, who knows? I think my next roommate might have a PS4 and he has Street Fighter 5. So who knows? Yeah. I think that's a big thing. Another thing I noticed is I think Smash Bros. Actually has a new update, which and I think they introduced like a baby Battlefield, which is like pretty much Battlefield with just 2 platforms, which I'm gonna look into. Probably need to install it, and I think they did something with the online. Sakurai did something to the online, made it better. I think in terms of like one-on-one matches, which if it did, I need to know. Plus, they actually did some patches. They did a patch to they ended up giving my boy, my OG character Marth, buff. So I'll probably need to get back into that, and probably after this podcast, and probably after work, when I come home from work early, because I'm actually going to be working from home. I pretty much going to be working from home. I did mention last week's podcast I was going to be working from home on Friday, but some people didn't get some of their equipment in, so hopefully it's coming today. Hopefully the equipment's coming at least today. tonight. So, I'm hoping. Let's hope for the best that it's coming. That's coming. That everyone's getting it tomorrow night. And hopefully I don't have to be driving to work. I can just chill at home and be working in my room in pretty much more or less peace and solitude. Anyway, continue onward. But yeah, continue onward. Yeah, there's a good stuff for fighting games. Fighting games coming out. Like, they announced a new character for Soul Calibur 6. Announced a new character for Soul Calibur 6. Pretty much, I think, next thing is Guilty Gear came out with 2 new characters. One of them is this vampire, cyborg, ninja guy, and I'm like, it's crazy, and yeah, it's interesting. And this game is coming out not just on PS4, but PS5, which I'm like, oh, okay, cool. That means I already knew I'm getting this, because this game is coming out in 2021. And I'm excited, because and if you don't know what Guilty Gear is this game produced by Arc System Works. It is a crazy, like, has this, like, rock and roll vibe in this, and it's like a fighting game. It's high paced, it's crazy, it's kind of very advanced, because there's some stuff in there that's, like, mechanics is very advanced. You can actually get the game, the first Guilty Gear, and I think the most recent version, updated version of, like, a Guilty Gear XX that came out, like, in 2003. I think it was, like, in 2003, 2004. And it's this great 2D fighting game. You can get it on the Switch, actually. It's pretty good. But yeah, this Guilty Gear Strive comes out in 2021. I'm interested in seeing it. It'll be the first time I've ever played anything Guilty Gear related. I'm interested in seeing how it does and how it do. So yeah, that's pretty much my opinion there. That's what I'm pretty much excited for. Fighting games coming out. More fighting games coming out. I'm a big fighting game fan. I don't play a lot of it, but if I'm in an arcade, I mostly gravitate towards any fighting games. Whether that's Street Fighter, Tekken, Killer Instinct, you name it. I'm a fighting game fan. I do play, like, sometimes puzzle games and maybe sometimes RPGs, mostly Pokemon. But yeah, I might. But yeah, I did have a gaming channel for a while. If you do want to watch some of the old indie footage. Am I coming back? Will the gaming channel be back sometime soon? Pretty much soon. I do want to come back to games. I need to get a new gaming computer, because the old one is no longer it was lost in the old apartment I got evicted in. Also, the good news is, anyone who has kept up with this, guess what? The people who owned that apartment complex that ran the property management company that owned the apartment complex no longer owns it anymore. Yeah, because I had to get some paper, notice, like, me being evicted and me paying off said eviction, and eviction is paid off and everything. I went to their office and tried to get it, and turns out they actually no longer owned it. They sold that off like 3 weeks ago when I went there. So I was like, oh, okay, really? Okay, cool. This is me in the car. I was like, yes! I was like, yes! Thank you! Because fuck those guys. Fuck them in the ass. Because all them bitches can suck my dick. And I know what you're thinking, why am I calling all them bitches? There's gallery guys. No, all of them are women. all women. So, all of those bitches can suck my dick. From the tip all the way down to the hilt. Fuck them. Sorry, I need to get that out of my system. But yeah, that was the thing. I haven't heard anything yet from them. I still have their card here. I'm still working on moving to this apartment buy Evil's campus. And taking over the lease for my older sister. That's the plan right now. And yeah, that's a process right now. I'm gotta make up like $600 or something. I'm working on that. I have some money aside. I already have some money. I'm working on get this my next check. My sister owes me about $100. In case my sister watches this. Remember. Anyway. But yeah, other than that, it's gonna be nice. It's a nice apartment. Everything's like furnished, bed, a couch, like everything else is furnished. I think I'll have to get some of my own stuff. Pretty much a new router because this does have a community-based Wi-Fi, but it's not that good. So yeah, your boy gonna have to install a new router. Gonna get a new router just to make sure, especially for the job, because I need to get something that it works well enough for that. And by the time that comes in, I should be getting at least money for my grandfather's estate. So that stuff will be done soon. So yeah. But yeah, other than that, it's so far my life is kind of good. Fighting games is starting to. There's more fighting game announcements. Sadly, I was expecting. Sadly, around this time, usually more fighting game announcements would have come up. Usually around this weekend, because this past weekend was supposed to be Evo. If you and this would have been a podcast, me describing my experience at Evo, if there wasn't a pandemic and everything, how my experience in Vegas was, my weekend in Vegas was, how hammered was I, did I smoke any, did I drink a ton, how much weed did I smoke, and did I hook up, did I go to any of the brothels? No, I wouldn't have gone to any of the brothels. Anyway, but yeah, other than that, but here's the thing, because of the pandemic, Evo got canceled. It was going to go online, then stuff about one of the main people in charge of Evo ended up getting caught in this sex scandal, and it turned into this crazy thing, and developers pulled their games out. They were like, nope. Players pulled out. Sponsors it was a mess, and it got canceled all entirely. So yeah, this the fighting game conference that was going on with the Japanese developers happened. The game be announced and everything. And there's the pandemic changed some things. I think the development is going to be different. It's going to be a while before we get true announcements of stuff. And I think there's going to be more to come out soon. Probably next couple of months. Especially October, probably. In terms of Capcom, some of the others, probably a little bit later. Because some of this stuff is going to be... Because I think these big events, I think Tokyo Game Show is probably going to be virtual. I think, and I think a few others will be virtual as well. So we'll figure out what's going to happen with events. Tournaments still going online, but I think the Japanese developers talked about the tournaments being online, and people probably hearing complaints of, these games our netcode ain't that good. And one of the things they're integrating is Capcom's working on, there's a thing called rollback netcode. One of the things is Tekken is working on this, but it's a little difficult to process because if no one knows, Tekken is 3D. It's a 3D fighting game, and where you're not doing a dimensional plane. You got characters can switch sides, move in a circular motion, 360, and the cameras and everything, and the animation will be different. It's difficult to process trying to do that animation and stuff. And yeah, it's but like I said, I'm interested there is a there is something about it I'm interested in knowing. It's for now. But yeah, I don't know what's the future going to be holding for like fighting games and stuff. It's interesting. I think I probably talked a lot about fighting games and stuff, and I kind of probably going on a little bit of tangent here. So we're gonna move away from fighting games and stuff because that's not the point. I think we're gonna talk about I think we're gonna move on to a new segment here. And I think that's gonna be about, well, if you probably haven't watched the news much, there's a possibility Trump, if he loses the election, he probably thinking himself he ain't planning on leaving anytime soon. He ain't thinking about peacefully giving up that throne. He's just, his thought process is, we ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. We ain't gonna stop now. It's president for life. Like his thought process with Trump in some of the stuff that's been going on last couple weeks is he believes that the mail-in ballot will be fraudulent. It'll be the biggest, like, if I lose, it is clearly a power move by the left and all the bunch of stuff. It's interesting to know. Do I think he will do that? I expect him to be like, tell the military, hey, I ain't giving up this power. I ain't giving up this seat. Y'all got my back. Y'all gonna wanna got my back. Like, try to convince the army to, like, let him stay in power. I don't know if the military will do something like that. But I do think, like, the people he has support, the people who support Trump, probably can and will do something to keep him in power, because these are not like the people like on the left, like people who are vote left and stuff. They aren't going to be. They're not like people who are like the left who would probably, if Biden lost, we would throw a riot, just destroy stores and loot and all this stupid stuff. These are people with guns who could roll up to the White House and perform a coup if they feel like it. Like, these are people who are not, you don't want to fuck with whatsoever. And my opinion is, to them, I think that's going to be to me, the way I feel how this election is going to play out is this. It's going to end. There's a part of me that's feel like it's still somehow, this could end in somehow a civil war. The whole country is right now. We're almost at a point where we are going to start a civil war. Where there's tension. It's starting to go towards a point where we're probably going to go towards a civil war, where it's going to end one of two ways. Either A, Biden loses. Everyone on the left, mostly people my age, millennials, young youth, it's just like, you know what? Fuck this. Instead of, we're not going to support saying this, we're going to go ahead, we're going to secede. We all decide to secede. We take over, like, we decide, you know what? We're going to take over the state of Montana or some shit. We all just take our shit, just move out to Montana and start our own, like, country or something. Or whatever, secede from a nation. Or some shit. And then we start civil warfare. Or B, Biden wins. The Trump supporters who are really like, nope, we are not going to go back to this shit. Like, pretty much, we are not going to let gay people of color have rights and all this stuff. No way that some nigger is going to live in my like neighborhood treat me like I'm like treat me like the oppressed and with his wife and kids and shit. Like, no. And they succeed. They decide to succeed. Trump becomes like this president of like this, hey, let's just make this MAGA nation or whatever place, and there's civil war. Like, something about this is gonna cause civil war. It's the same thing with me in this like whole Breonna Taylor thing. Like, the thing about the Attorney General and stuff, he's gonna suffer two things. He knows this. He knows that if he decides to pursue charges, they go through the whole process and they find the cops not guilty for the murder, the city's gonna burn to the ground. If he just goes out flat out says, we're not gonna pursue any charges whatsoever, the officers are not gonna be charged, the city's burning to the ground. You're in a scenario where no matter what choice you make, it's going to be a civil war either way. It's going to be a point where the city is burning to the ground, and in the same case, in the bigger point, a few months from now, this whole country is burning to the ground. It's a point of me that's like, I don't want it to go that way. Me and my dad have these discussions a bunch. My dad doesn't want to go that way. I don't want to go that way either, but if this is a part where if, like, black people deserve a right to live, like, I believe this. Every human should have a right to housing. Everyone should have the right to free healthcare. Everyone should have a right to a quality education and all the stuff that we fought for, like, hundreds of years ago. That was what the country was built upon. Everyone should have the right to every part of life, like living, housing, education, healthcare, food, etc. My thing is about like the party stuff is they all agree on the same, that everyone should have these rights. But everyone's like has this way of how to handle it, and then the left has their way of how to handle it, and then the right has their way of handling it, and no one's idea is like truly like in the middle. Like, it's no one has the idea of, you know what, like, let's try at least coming down the middle. No, like, compromise. That's how some of the stuff happened, and it doesn't happen. It's like, because if someone like Bernie decides, hey, like, no, maybe we should, like, maybe we should, like, do this, and it's away from, like, the norm of, like, the Democratic establishment, they kind of ostracize them. Same thing with, like, someone on the right, like, starts thinking a little left, like, no, maybe the left has a good idea. They ostracize him, and it's like, no one can, like, it's hard to figure out, like, what this does, and it's like, and it's frustrating, like, people be frustrated about it, and I can understand this carefully. I kind of can understand, like, some of the stuff, like, hundreds of years ago, stuff like George Washington said, and Thomas Jefferson said, makes perfect sense. Like George Washington said, there shouldn't be any political parties because that helps bring division. Like, this is something that George Washington said before he died, I think, when he first became president. And I think if you brought some of these founding fathers in, if we had a time machine and we brought the founding fathers back to where we are now, they would look around and just be like, wait a minute, you guys didn't write, like, any new shit to make sure everything stays even? Like, y'all know we wrote this with feathers, right? And there's gonna be someone who's probably like, well, like, the things that are written on the scroll should not be adjusted, or like some shit. And they're like, the fuck are you talking about? dude, we wrote this like on paper and candlelight with a feather and ink. Made of some random shit. Like seriously, like we didn't know what fuck we were doing making a country. We didn't know how to run the country. Like literally, like when the country was first founded, the first few years was just like, you know, what the fuck are we doing? Like I don't know how this was gonna work. Like the first thing they did, like the Articles of Federation, it was bad enough they kind of fucked up on it, and then they just like went back and revised it and made the Constitution we have now. That's where we gotta have to revise that Constitution. Like that's like I think they said like every 20, 30 years, revise it to like no, let's revise it to like, you know, make things more even. Like the ideas of a country probably has changed a bit, you know. And they've never done, and it's like something that we probably pushed back, like so. Like, the thing about the presidency, we should not have a popularity contest to determine who gets to run everything. Because every time we have a new leader, we have to go with the exact opposite of what the person was. Like, we went from Clinton, who is this kind of, like, dumb Democrat who had a few good ideas, kept the economy low and some things, and then we went to Bush, who was this dumb Republican who pretty much found a way to fuck everything up in 8 years, and then we decided to go to Obama, who honestly was, I don't know how he did foreign policy wise. Some of the stuff is bad, some of the stuff was good, but he at least was kind of like sensible enough to to do some shit to help to play a role. And no, maybe just some of this stuff maybe should be incorporated. Like, and then we decided to go from someone who's a complete opposite, who was Trump, who's like, nah, fuck y'all, fuck any foreign country, fuck people who are not like me, y'all can suck my dick. And that's what we got. And now we don't know who to replace. We're trying to find the exact opposite. One idea was pretty much this one guy named Bernie Sanders, or some other guy, and instead of that, who knows? Like, to me, one of the things is, like, Joe Rogan has this bit, and you can watch it, it's a good one. He said this: America got out of this long-term relationship with this regular ass girl, this regular chick, who was kind of boring, kind of plain regular, but she was a sensible, reasonable person. Okay, yeah, it's like you dealt with this chick for 8 years, you know, she's a nice girl, I mean, she's not bad, and then one day you go to a bar, and you eventually meet some whore, and you pretty much, she has small hands, fake hair, racist. It's racist. Fake tan, spray tan, pretty much lies a lot. She pretty much comes by. She gives you some attention. She talks to you. She flirts with you a little bit. Next thing you know, probably rubs her hand around your dick, and next thing you know, woo! There goes the neighborhood, ladies and gentlemen, because you pretty much end up hooking up with her, and now you realize this bitch is kind of not the right person, because you realize, but here's the thing, like, do you still give a fuck? No, because if America is a person, it's a guy who's on cocaine, driving some yellow Corvette, listening to Miley Cyrus songs, and is pulling up to his ex's house. We're going crazy! Like, that's how it is. Like, that's literally what our country is. And now we're realizing this chick is not the right person for us. And now because of y'all, because of this chick, now you build up this reputation of breaking this, like, the regular girl's heart, and now no one wants to be with you at all. So you lost all your friends. You pretty much, your parents don't like her, and you still decided to fuck your family, fuck the relationship dynamic with your family, and now it's just you. What can you do with your life now? Do you stay in the same city and just try to work things out with this relationship? Or B, move to a new town, start your whole life over, and remember the mistakes you made in the past. To me, at this point, I would rather move away, move to a new city, somewhere, maybe in a new state, especially a new state, and start your life over again. That's pretty much, that is me, and that's my opinion in a nutshell there about this whole stuff. And, yeah, it's just, this country is going crazy, and hopefully we can find a way to work this out, because this is just a point where it's either we gotta talk it out, or B, it's gonna end with bloodshed and violence, and sadly, if that's the last resort, I guess that's how it's gonna be. And I want it to happen, but looks like that's the point we have to go across. So okay, I'm gonna take a quick break. Give me a minute to take a break, and yeah, we're gonna move on probably to basketball, because so far, after 8 games, there is after I think 8 days in the season of this new restart, things are getting crazy, and I'm excited to hear it. Talk about it. We'll be right back, folks. Don't go anywhere. Alright. And we're good. Alright. We're back, ladies and gentlemen, with another, with J-Man Talk House. So, I was going to talk about NBA, the bubble, and this popped up in my huge thing. So, I think I can find this. So, pop this up. But this recently happened that 4 athletics programs for the University of Louisville, pretty much the men's and women's soccer teams, the volleyball, and the field hockey programs, these 4 programs are suspending activities for 2 weeks because they have had 29 positive tests among the 4 of them, and all of these are connected to this one party off campus. So, I'm gonna say this. If you're on the NCAA, listen. If you're thinking of having any form of college athletics, and I think especially football, you might have a chance. But sports like soccer, field hockey, volleyball, like, I know you're gonna try to get them in there, because some of these programs will probably be done. But I'm gonna be honest with y'all, there's no way you're gonna keep any of them motherfuckers in. You're gonna have a season, because it's like, to me, it's like, I don't know much about the soccer programs. No offense to any people in the soccer programs, like, I don't know if you guys get pulled. I'm not saying you guys have game or anything. I'm not saying any of them aren't attractive looking, but y'all, I just say college and stuff, college athletics, college sports, and college in general. I don't think colleges are gonna go all remote. Pretty much because there's no way you're going to tell like all these college kids to not stay 6 feet apart from each other, to not go out anywhere, and 3, do anything. Pretty much anything that is not involving staying 6 feet apart, and at least in wearing masks. All these college kids, and I know it, and people will between 21 and 35 are planning at least going out or B, trying to fly some bitches over, or B, Uber some bitches over, or something of a sort. Like the thing of like the NBA. Right now, I'm surprised. Before the pandemic, before the restart, I was expecting this to be bad because I was thinking like, no way, all these NBA players are going to stay in this one hotel in this bubble, and now I expect them to fly bitches out. It's like, do I think the NFL is going to work, come back? I want it to, but it's probably not going to go into this bubble-like state. Go to a bubble. They're not going to have like one or two like hub cities or something like that. It's not, I don't think a bubble is going to happen. They're going to still like keep teams to themselves, and then whatever games have to be played. My thing is, do I expect them to be in a bubble? No, because my opinion, some of these guys are going to probably are either going to leave their areas and go out and probably, I don't know much about how NFL players operate, but some of those motherfuckers are probably going to fly out some bitches, so let's be honest. Like, baseball's going through a tough process. Like, some cases, St. Louis Cardinals have had series after series postponed. Miami Marlins had series postponed, their season put on hold, and like a few other things. Like, do I expect any of these things to operate in a bubble? And do I think some of these teams are going to go? I want sports to come back, but some of this stuff, there's hardly any way they're going to they're going to have a full season, because these motherfuckers don't want to stay at home, don't want to stay in the bubble, and don't want to fly bitches. Keep trying to fly bitches in. So, I don't know what to say here. But, yeah, I think this, this whole thing with, like, the U of L stuff, I'm like, the 4 programs going on, I think the college football stuff is going to happen. I think one thing I'll talk about is the college football. The schedule, like, some of this stuff involving, like, conferences, like, some of the rivalries, luckily, are in conference. But the weird thing is, like, some of the, like, schedules they have is kind of interesting enough. If you don't know, the ACC and the SEC is going all conference only, both doing the conference only models, and they are pretty much going to like cancel like for pretty much one season, big bunch of these rivalries. Like Florida and Florida State are playing at the end of the year. No Georgia versus Georgia Tech. No Clemson South Carolina rivalry, and of course the big one here, the battle for the Governor's Cup, U of L UK. And my thing about it is, like, the Big 12, they're going to go into 9-1, 9 plus 1, basically 9 conference games and 1 non-conference opponent. I don't know how they're going to find a one non-conference team to play these games, but hey, I don't know. But to me, like, the big thing about the whole but the one thing I have about is the whole SEC thing. You could still have those rivalry games, because most of those rivalries are in state. And I think that would be much easier if you did the 9. You could do the 10 conference games, that's fine. But if you could have the one non-conference game, I think you can have that one non-conference game. I think the model could work. I think they could have them. Don't have it counting against the records, but at least let them have that game. It could be like, yeah, the game won't technically count, but at least the team can have the bragging rights. Because like, if the games don't happen between U of L, UK, because I'm like, but I think there's a chance they could work something out where if the games, because I think some of these games, like, some distance stuff is the question thing. They're trying to cut down, like, distance traveled and stuff. But the thing about Kentucky is they're playing against Auburn, and I think one game is against Florida. Which is like, and Florida is much farther out, and let's be honest, there's no way that Kentucky's going to play against Florida, and by the time they come back, not one player, and you think not like a more than 2 free players on that field is going to not catch Corona ever traveling back from Florida. Let's be honest here. Let's let them. I think they're going to have, I think there's going to be they need to do something to keep, I think there's a way they could make the rivalry game still happen. I just don't know why they haven't fought that through. A lot of our rivalries, ACC and SEC, could have had a virtual meeting and some of the rivalry games are between not our teams. Some of our teams are similar and they're actually live in the same state. Clemson, South Carolina, Louisville, Kentucky, and Kentucky, Florida State, Georgia Tech. How about this? We'll do the 10 games. We can give some of these teams the extra 1 game, non-conference game. Now, I know what you're thinking, well, then what about the other teams? True. But I think it could do something we need to figure out a way to, let's say this, let's say there's a 4-way tie for first and second, between Clemson, Louisville, Georgia Tech somehow is in there, and I think the 4th one I said was Florida State. Let's say all 4 of them are tied. We're trying to figure out a way to make a tiebreaker, figure out the 2 teams that get in for our conference style game. How about this? We're gonna have the special 11 game be that. Let's add 1 more game. The special 4th game is the state rivalry games, the in-state rivalry games. They have that meeting in the SEC. It's towards the end of the season, a week, 2 weeks before the conference style game. I think they said it's between the 12th and 19th. I think I think they're going to go with that later than the 19th, and they can have that in-state rivalry game. Whoever has whoever does the best in those games, 2 teams that win makes it in, and any teams that lose is out. And then whoever wins, a margin of victory, strength of the victory, and all that stuff factors in, and boom, we got our 2 teams there for our conference championship. And I think that would work. But who knows? But I don't know why it's not going to work. I think it's something that makes more sense to me to keep some of the rivalry games in instead of having a team like Kentucky travel to Gainesville, which takes hours, literal hours and stuff. It makes more sense having that game, having U of L UK, Kentucky play Louisville, which is just an hour and a half away. Well, pretty much an hour 15. Depends on how traffic is. But yeah, that's I think that makes more sense to me than Kentucky not playing Louisville, having these in-state rivalries just be canceled for 1 season. That's it. But yeah, that's my opinion there on that. My opinion there on that, and I think about the whole college athletic stuff. To me, I think it's some of these programs aren't going to last very long because the best way you're going to have to handle it is have the season be done in bubbles, conference only models, and pretty much have these teams in a bubble state or something. Because the last thing you want is to have these players are going to go out to parties. I'm not expecting college players to not go out and try to party thinking they're invincible and shit. So you might as well go ahead and try at least either A, have it seen a bubble, some kind of bubble. Whoever team is around is still available. teams wherever is available, teams that are pretty much either not canceling their fall sports or not doing anything can play, and whoever is available, put them in a bubble, have it in some bubble like area or something where these teams play, and you can determine a College Cup champion like the way the MLS is doing it, pretty much through group play and then a knockout stage, and then boom, you got your College Cup champion for the soccer. That way, have a field hockey tournament of some kind. There's your fall hockey champion, and then I think volleyball, have that in a bubble, something. No fans in the crowd, no live crowds, and and you got your volleyball champion. To me, I think it's going to be interesting to see it. Sports is going to be different. I think there's got to be a thing we got to do, and that's all I think. All this stuff is going on, and it's just it's just, to me, it's just like, what exactly are we doing? Like, that's why I'm asking myself, like, what are we doing to, like, combat it? And I'm like, and I'm not saying this because I'm not saying these words aren't empowered, but it's just me, some of this stuff is, like, tough to deal with, and I'm kind of just like, hopefully, if it does happen, it happens. If it doesn't happen because of the corona, just ain't gonna happen. It ain't gonna happen. Just, but yeah. I guess we'll move on to, NBA now. So, NBA is, we are now, like, we've played through probably, I think, 8 games, I think it's already 8 days into the restart, I believe. I think it's 8 days. But, it is, I believe, 8 days. And so far, we got a interesting, let me find, I think a big one about the basketball season is that so far, here are standings. I was like, where are you? Look at it so far. So far, of course, we still have like, so far in the Eastern Conference, it looks like every team is already set up already. Looks like right now we have the Eastern Conference already stacked up. Pretty much the Bucks. The Bucks are pretty much number 1 seed. Raptors number 2. Boston number 3. Miami 4. Indiana 5. The Sixers 6. Brooklyn 7, and Orlando at 8 still. It looks like Washington practically just came by just to do conditioning or something. Pretty much just went there just to do conditioning. Like, their season was done. Their season's done. So, we're going to go ahead. Now, in the Eastern Conference, in the Western Conference, there's some competition going on. Especially around the 8-seeded teams. 8-seed team. And right now, it is looking pretty good. Memphis has the 8 seed right now. But coming up on their heels is the Trailblazers. The Portland Trailblazers are now 1.5 game back, and it's been helping. And a big part of their help, of them at least getting to a better positioning, is probably much like Carmelo pretty much coming back. Like, somehow, I'm guessing this man is pregame hype song is probably just like Meek Mill's Dreams and Nightmares intro song, because he is just practically, because the shots he's been putting up and everything he's been doing in that bubble, he is just pretty much telling every team in there and all the fans, people who are watching, just hold up, wait a minute, y'all thought I was finished. And just flexing on everybody, just letting them know, like, hey, I ain't done yet. I'm a first ballot Hall of Famer. Remember that. Like, you ain't going no more disrespect on my name, and I respect it enough. I'm like, it was yeah, that's what it needs to have been going on. Another big narrow that's like a half game back behind them is the San Antonio Spurs. They've actually done well. Pretty much won 2 of their first 3 games. Lost in a nail biter to the Sixers off a go-ahead free-pointer by Shake Milton, I believe, for the Sixers. Then you got the Pelicans, who are half a game back behind them, which is surprising. The Suns are half a game behind the Pelicans, and then you got Sacramento Kings. This is a tight race. There's 5 teams that are still in this like running. I think somehow, if you're like at least 4 games behind 8th, you're still in it. And it looks like there's a thing where there's gonna be a thing where you have to play in, and I think there's gonna be like a weird gauntlet type of thing. So I think if Memphis has to play, keep a 8th spot, they gotta kind of have to tighten up a bit. They're actually playing the Jazz right now, actually, live right now, actually, and I think that's gonna be on. That's today. It's right now. They're playing against the Jazz. Jazz up 8-2, and well, actually, they're up 2 now on the Grizzlies. And there's less than 8 minutes left in the first right now. So this game just started just not too long ago. So, yeah. Wizards play the Sixers today. Nuggets, the Spurs take on the Denver Nuggets, which is I think it's a top 3. It's in the first seed, which is a big one. That's a big one. The Thunder is taking on the Lakers. It's 6:30. The Lake Show is at 6:30 Eastern. Probably not going to be able to catch it because I'll be at work. Well, might catch the tail end of it, maybe. At that game, Raptors take on the Magic, and then 9 o'clock, Nets take on the Celtics in a battle. Take on the Celtics. Celtics 3rd seed, Brooklyn 7th seed. Kind of needs and probably would need an extra win just to at least keep themselves in the 7th spot, because if they lose that one, the Magic will move up. Could potentially move up and take that 7th spot, and don't have to face the almighty Bucks team, who is probably favored to go to Eastern to run the table in the East. I believe that it's going to be a final between the Bucks and Lakers, as I said in when the restart was about to begin. It will be Bucks Lakers in the finals. So yeah, I think right now it's a battle between the Magic. Right now, the main thing is just a battle between the Magic and the Brooklyn Nets on who's the one team that's on who is not facing the Bucks in the first round, which is probably going to be a slaughter. So, yeah, that's one of the big things about it. Another big thing is the Rockets ended up getting a signature win on their, kind of this one, like, signature win, which was over the Bucks, actually, on, I believe, Saturday or Sunday, I believe. And, so, yeah, beating the Bucks, and in that one, the big thing about, one of the big stories about the restart was, of course, some of the stuff involving the anthem and stuff, and like, well, a lot of the players kneeled, pretty much took a knee, kneeled. Myers Leonard for the Heat, he still wore a Black Lives Matter t-shirt, warm-up shirt, and he stood for the anthem instead of doing what joining with his fellow players, locking arms and taking a knee together. And another player that gotten a lot of flack. I think John Mayer for the Miami Heat, I think got some flack, but I think people just it's his choice. He deserves to do it. Another player that got a ton of flack is a young player by the name of Jonathan Isaac, I believe is his name, and he chose not to lock arms and take a knee with the team. And a lot of people ripped on him for not taking the knee. And I don't think he wore the Black Lives Matter shirt either. And he's like, I don't think the T-shirt will do the message. I think doing the protesting and stuff is the more effective message. And I'm like, hey, I mean, he has a point. I'm like, it seems reasonable or something like that. I don't know. I forgot how he's worded out how he did it. Well, in the next game, I think the Magic played, I believe, the Suns, I believe. And in that game, pretty much, he ended up doing this one basketball move. Something like how Derrick Rose first tore his ACL. It ended up in the same exact fashion. He ended up tearing his ACL, and I believe I think it's either his left knee or right knee. I'm not sure which knee. But it was just, it was a bad, like, how it happened, I can understand. It's practically the way he did the move and then the way he landed on his feet. He practically, like, didn't land, like, on the ball of his feet. Land, like, on the balls of his feet. Like, he pretty much more or less did, like, a hard plant. And instead of, like, a softer landing, he did more of, like, a hard, like, plant. Hard, like, planting his feet very hard around. Just boom. Like, and that's the thing about those force. Does mess up the ligaments pretty hard. And that's why if you're going to do jumps, jump light on your feet and softly, so that way you don't injure any of the ligaments, because that's something that happens. A lot of players pretty much had torn ACLs like that, and that's something like what happened with him. And a lot of people got on him on Twitter and stuff like, well, God told him to take a knee. He should have taken a knee. Like, God pretty much took did it for him, like, and I'm like, or some crazy stuff, and I'm like, this is too much. Like, I can't, like, it's bad enough he got injured, because one of the things is, before he did have a knee injury, and throughout the quarantine, and up to the restart, he was working hard to come back from the knee injury, and work all that stuff. Now he's got to work back, now he has to work this other knee up, in a much longer frame, because a torn ACL takes like 6-8 months to recover from. After surgery, the rehab, and everything, like, he's got it's gonna be a long process, and it means he's probably out for not only out for pretty much the rest of the seeding games and the first round of the playoffs, but also probably out for a good chunk of next season as well, because after this, in like, I think 3-4 months later, NBA comes back, like, back to regular form. And it's it's unfortunate that the C-Man is pretty much had something like this happen. I wish on Devontae a speedy recovery. Hopefully when he comes back, he bounces back stronger from this, and that's one thing I can say about it. I'm like, it's not. Do I expect every player in the NBA, NFL, MLB, MLS to take a knee? Do I expect all of them to take a knee? No. It's still a choice. Like, to me, that stuff about the flag and stuff, the protesting and stuff, I don't know why that symbol of the knee became this political thing, and it makes no sense to me. It's just something that just was a small thing, ended up becoming this huge thing for no reason whatsoever. And that's one of the things is the U.S. Navy is I guess another segment about the originator of this whole taking knee stand was Colin Kaepernick, and what he did, Colin Kaepernick, one of these involving, kind of in the way it involved Colin Kaepernick, was this military base had this decided to do a demonstration involving their canines, and one of the people, they had someone dress up in a stand-in, and one of the people in Fastanin wore this red Colin Kaepernick jersey, when he was a 49er, and pretty much these dogs all attacked him. Had like 4 of these dogs like attack him, like try to like pull him down, and was trying to like pull him down, biting him, and the U.S. Army, the U.S. Army in general, decided to investigate that party and I think the base and try to figure out what exactly was going on there. I don't know the exact name of the base. I think it was like Fort Marshall or something. But yeah, but yeah, I think it's yeah, that protest was a big thing. I think it's just to me, they and I'm yeah, it's just to me, I think it's just, you need to like, yeah, I think it's a big thing. I think they need to, yeah, I think this is, yeah, it's, yeah, it's the National Navy SEAL Museum. It's the National Navy SEAL Museum. It was a museum event. It's actually involved in Navy SEALs, and this has been happened yesterday, like yesterday afternoon, that the U.S. Navy SEALs in general have reported cut ties with this independent. It's an independent museum after this video service. So, yeah, that's me like, I think whoever owns, I guess whoever created the museum, I don't know if a curator or whoever it is that did it, I'm hoping, like, no, I don't think that museum should be around or anything. I don't know if it's going to be closed or anything, but, yeah, yeah, this stuff is insane. Like, this knee stuff shouldn't be as political. I think it's ridiculous. Like, even if, and this is a young man who pretty much decided not to take a knee, he isn't obligated because he's an African American basketball player. He deserves to take the knee and stuff and all that stuff. It's, to me, wishing for him to be injured and then people being happy he's injured, whether you're a fan of the Magic or not, is ridiculous beyond measure, and it's wrong. I think that's wrong to do so, and yeah, hopefully the young man, John Isaac, is wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully he can come back to full playing strength. And yeah, it's just I think it's ridiculous. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and take a break here. We're gonna take a quick break here. I need to it's almost time for me to probably meal prep a bit, so I'll probably do that real quick. And yeah, we'll be right back with more of the Jimmy Talks podcast right after this. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Excuse me. There. So, I was going to say, welcome back. Let me say, welcome back, everyone. I had something planned to talk about for a segment, and then I kind of lost it, so I guess this is a short one, I guess. So, I don't have much to say, I guess, on this one. I guess the main thing is drink your water every day. Eat a lot of protein if you want to burn fat quickly. Eat a lot of protein, whether it's from plants, meat, however you get your protein in, it's alright by me. Sometimes stay off social media. Stay off social media for take a break from social media, a couple hours a day. And yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. Um, but yeah, thank you guys very much for watching this or listening in. If you anybody has left comments, people have been at least watched and people have subscribed. Thank you guys very much. If you guys enjoy these podcasts every week, at least be sure to leave a like in the videos, share this with your friends and family, subscribe to the channel, help out, especially in even if you don't, leave a comment in the video, hey, keep up good work or something, because the more you do that, more comment, because I think there's the thing about YouTube's algorithm, the more comments you leave, there's likes and stuff is what's the thing, and views. Some things is people recommend is leaving comments hey Jason, or hey everybody, hey, looking good, or doing whatever. That helps out a lot than you think. It lets people know hey, this guy watches this. Oh, my friend watches this video. This is my recommended. What's this podcast? You watch it, give it a chance, and then that's how that works. And yeah. Thank you guys very much. Keep supporting. Keep showing us some love. Leave it a like. Share this with your friends. Subscribe to the channel. You know how that help. You know that helps. And yeah, that's a big thing. That's all the things I can say. Thank you very much for watching. Once again, my prayers go out to people in Beirut, Lebanon, for the explosion that happened, the lives that were lost, and the people who were injured. I pray for the lives that were lost, and I pray for the speedy recovery of the people who were injured in this. And shout out to them. I think we'll probably do, we'll do something. I kind of want to do something where we'll probably do a fund or something. Try at least raise money for people in Lebanon, wherever it is, some non-profit or some kind. I'll let you guys know if I find one. I'll leave a link to it in the description or in a pinned comment. I want to find a way of helping out, because that's one of the things I did during the protest. Outside of probably the of money, outside of paying bills and pretty much buying groceries and a few other things. Some of the stuff money I spent was towards towards the bail funds, and the bail funds, some people's medical bills, and that were involved, that end up being caught in the protests crossfire, and a few other things, keeping some businesses afloat. And that's something that helps, and that's something I would want to do, especially the big thing about Beirut, Lebanon. They are going through a famine, this COVID-19 crisis, and the and now it's pretty much an economic collapse. The country is going through a lot, and they need probably right now the entire world kind of needs to give them all the help we can get because of this situation. Yeah, that's all I can say about this. And yeah, so once again, thank you guys for watching. We'll be back next week. Next week, I think I'll be doing the next episode. We'll still be here, and then I think the episode after that, I'll be doing it at the new apartment. So in my brand new apartment by UofL's campus. And yeah, I am J Money. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends to keep the stuff going. And you just listen to probably, in my opinion, the realest guy in the Ville today. And I'll see y'all next time. Goodbye and good night. Bang.